The radio telescope array hummed beneath the New Mexico night sky as Dr. Olivia Reynolds stretched her cramped fingers. 3 days with minimal sleep, sustained only by coffee and the stubbornness that had defined her career in genetics. Her colleagues had left hours ago, but something in the signal pattern kept her tethered to her station. Just noise, Director Harmon had said when she'd shown him the peculiar repeating sequences they'd captured from deep space. Cosmic background radiation with a rhythmic artifact. But Olivia knew patterns. Her life's work was identifying the patterns hidden in genetic code, and these signals, pulsing from somewhere near Alpha Centauri, had structure too precise to be random. Her computer chirped, completing another analysis pass. The screen filled with rows of comparative data, and Olivia's heart skipped. The incoming signal, when translated through her specialized algorithm, showed unmistakable similarities to nucleotide sequences. Not human DNA exactly, but something analogous, like finding Sanskrit when you were expecting Latin. Related but fundamentally different. "My God," she whispered, fingers trembling as she saved the results. "It's a genetic code." She was reaching for her phone to call Professor Emerson at Harvard and the laboratory door hissed open. Olivia startled, dropping her coffee mug. It shattered across the polished floor. 2 figures stood in the doorway, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair pulled into a severe bun and a younger man whose government-issue suit couldn't quite disguise his military bearing. "Dr. Reynolds," the woman said, not a question but a confirmation. "I'm Director Lydia Blackwell. This is Agent Daniel Foster. We need to discuss your recent findings." Olivia's throat went dry. "How do you even know about my findings?" "I haven't published anything." Blackwell's smile didn't reach her eyes. "The SETI array has certain monitoring protocols. Particularly for signals matching specific parameters. You've been watching me?" Olivia stood, anger displacing her initial shock. "This is a public university research facility. You have no right." "National security," Agent Foster interrupted, his voice surprisingly gentle. "What you found isn't just scientifically significant, Dr. Reynolds. It's potentially world-changing." Blackwell placed a sleek tablet on Olivia's desk. The screen showed a star chart, with a trajectory line plotted across it. "This signal isn't just coming from Alpha Centauri's general region. We've triangulated its precise origin." She tapped the screen, and the image zoomed to show something that made Olivia's scientific mind reel. An object, clearly artificial, moving through space. Olivia couldn't finish the sentence. "A vessel," Blackwell confirmed. "And based on its trajectory and acceleration, it's headed for our solar system." Olivia sank back into her chair. "The genetic sequences in the signal, they're sending us their biological information?" Foster nodded. "We believe so. And you're one of only 3 people on Earth who have successfully begun to decode it. We need you, Dr. Reynolds," Blackwell said. "Your country needs you." Olivia looked back at her computer screen, at the alien patterns that somehow spoke the universal language of life itself. "How long?" she asked. "The vessel will reach our orbit in approximately 14 months, Foster replied. "We're establishing a dedicated research facility. Top scientists, unlimited resources." Olivia thought of her small university lab, her teaching responsibilities, the grant proposals she'd been writing. Then she thought of what these sequences might reveal, an entirely new perspective on life, on evolution, on humanity's place in the universe. "When do we start?" she asked. Blackwell checked her watch. "There's a helicopter on the roof. Pack only what you need for tonight. Everything else will be arranged." As dawn broke over the desert, Olivia watched her laboratory building shrink beneath her. Whatever waited at their destination would change everything she thought she knew about genetics, and humanity's future among the stars. The underground facility sprawled beneath the Montana wilderness, a labyrinth of sterile corridors and cutting-edge laboratories that didn't officially exist. After 3 months, Olivia still found herself getting lost in its identical hallways, though she rarely left the genetics wing anyway. "You should sleep," Dr. Thomas Wright said, sliding a fresh cup of coffee across the workstation. Tall with prematurely silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, he had become her closest ally in this buried world of secrets. "The simulations will run without you watching them every second." Olivia accepted the coffee gratefully. "I keep thinking we're missing something fundamental. The alien genetic structure, it's not just different in composition, it's architecturally unlike anything we've seen on Earth." On the holographic display between them floated the twisted helix they'd extracted from the signal. Unlike human DNA's elegant double helix, this structure had 4 intertwined strands, creating a complex lattice that seemed to shift and pulse even in the static representation. "4 strands instead of 2, Thomas mused. "Twice the information capacity of human DNA. If genetic complexity correlates with evolutionary advancement, then they're playing a different game entirely," Olivia finished. "Our genetic code has redundancies, junk DNA, inefficiencies from millions of years of evolution's trial and error. But this," she gestured at the hologram, "this looks engineered for maximum information density." The lab door hissed open, and Director Blackwell entered with her ever-present tablet. "Progress report, doctors?" Olivia straightened. "We've mapped approximately 28% of the basic structure. The quaternary helix configuration allows for exponentially greater genetic information storage. Based on our models, these beings likely have advanced regenerative capabilities, significantly extended lifespans, and possibly enhanced sensory perception." "Impressive for 3 months' work," Blackwell said. "But I'm afraid we need to accelerate your timeline." She tapped her tablet, and the laboratory's main screen activated, showing a satellite feed of something entering Earth's atmosphere, a small, cylindrical object on a controlled descent path. "Is that?" Thomas began. "They sent a probe," Blackwell confirmed. "It landed in the Pacific Ocean 40 minutes ago. Recovery teams are bringing it here. ETA 4 hours. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. "What was inside?" "Biological samples," Blackwell said, her expression unreadable. "Living specimens of their genetic material, preserved in some kind of stasis medium. You'll have actual tissue to work with by morning." After Blackwell left, Thomas collapsed into his chair. "This changes everything. Theoretical models are one thing, but actual alien biological samples. It's what we needed," Olivia said, trying to ignore the ethical quandaries already forming in her mind. "But it also means they're further along in understanding us than we thought. They wouldn't send biological samples unless they'd already analyzed our genetic message responses and determined compatibility." Hours later, sealed in Level 5 biohazard suits, Olivia and Thomas stood before the containment chamber housing the alien specimens. The cylindrical containers glowed with soft blue light, preserving what appeared to be tissue samples in a crystalline medium. "Remarkable preservation technology," Thomas murmured, his voice distorted through the suit's communication system. "The cellular structures show no degradation despite interstellar travel." Olivia carefully manipulated the robotic arms to extract a microscopic sample. Under the quantum microscope, the alien cells revealed their secrets, organelles unlike any in Earth biology, moving with purpose and efficiency that seemed almost conscious. "Their cellular metabolism is at least 3 times more efficient than ours," she noted. "And look at these structures, they appear to be photosynthetic, but they're absorbing across wavelengths that would damage human tissues. They can process radiation as energy?" Thomas sounded awed. "That would make space travel far more viable for their species." For weeks, they worked tirelessly, mapping the alien genome, building comparative models, trying to understand how such complex life had evolved, or been engineered. The breakthroughs came in bursts, each revelation more astonishing than the last. But as their understanding grew, so did Olivia's unease. These weren't just fascinating specimens, they represented a sentient species trying to communicate. And somewhere in deep space, their ship continued its approach to Earth. "I think they're offering us something," she told Thomas one night as they reviewed their findings. "This isn't just a biological calling card. These genetic sequences contain embedded information, almost like instructions." Thomas frowned. Instructions for what? Olivia manipulated the holographic model, highlighting specific sequences that had been puzzling her. "I think they're showing us how our species might connect. Genetically." "You mean hybridization?" Thomas looked alarmed. "That's not necessarily reproduction," Olivia clarified. "More like a bridge. A way for humans to temporarily incorporate aspects of their biology to facilitate communication." "That sounds wildly dangerous," Thomas said. "And completely theoretical." Olivia stared at the alien cells pulsing with mysterious life beneath the microscope. "Maybe not entirely theoretical," she whispered, a plan already forming in her mind that would either open the door to interspecies understanding, or change her forever. "This is insanity, Olivia." Thomas paced the length of the lab, running his hands through his silver hair until it stood on end. "We've barely scratched the surface of understanding their genetic structure, and you want to, what? Inject yourself with synthesized alien DNA?" Olivia continued preparing the serum, her movements precise despite her exhaustion. 6 weeks of secret work, late nights after the official research had ended, carefully documenting every step so Thomas could monitor for adverse effects. "Not inject," she corrected. "The delivery mechanism is more sophisticated. The alien genetic material will temporarily bond with my existing DNA through the modified retroviral vector we developed. It's designed to degrade within 72 hours. Assuming our understanding of their biology is correct," Thomas countered. "Which we can't possibly know for certain." Olivia locked eyes with him. "The vessel will enter Earth orbit in less than 2 months. Do you trust our military and political leaders to handle first contact with a species this advanced without some kind of intermediary? Someone who can genuinely understand their biology, their perspective?" Thomas sank into a chair. "Blackwell will have me court-martialed if anything happens to you. Possibly executed. Then we don't tell her." Olivia finished loading the serum into the administration device, a circular patch that would deliver the genetic material gradually through her skin. "Not until we have results." "And what exactly are you expecting to happen?" Thomas asked, resignation creeping into his voice. Olivia placed the patch on her forearm, wincing slightly as microneedles deployed. "Based on the sequences I selected, I should experience enhanced neural activity, particularly in regions associated with pattern recognition and abstract thought. If my theory is correct, it will allow me to perceive the embedded message in their genetic code, the parts we've been missing. And if your theory is wrong? Then I'll have an interesting 72 hours before the material degrades." She attempted a smile, but her lips trembled slightly. For the first 6 hours, nothing happened beyond mild fever and increased heart rate. Thomas monitored her vital signs obsessively, ready to administer the emergency counteragent they'd prepared if anything went wrong. Then, as midnight approached, Olivia gasped and clutched the edge of the examination table, her pupils dilating dramatically. "Olivia?" Thomas reached for the counteragent. "No," she whispered. "It's incredible. I can see it now. Not just the code but what it represents." Her fingers traced patterns in the air, following invisible structures. "Their consciousness isn't individual like ours. It's networked, a collective intelligence but with maintained individuality." For the next 12 hours, Olivia alternated between periods of intense, almost trance-like focus and bursts of feverish documentation. She filled digital notebooks with observations, equations, and concepts that pushed the boundaries of human scientific understanding. "They don't just want to communicate with us," she explained as dawn broke. "They want to teach us." Their species reached a critical point millennia ago where technological advancement outpaced biological evolution. They found a solution, controlled genetic enhancement that allowed their biology to evolve alongside their technology. Thomas monitored her brainwave patterns with growing concern. "Your neural activity is off the charts. Are you in pain?" "The opposite." Olivia's eyes shone with an inner light that wasn't entirely human. "It's like seeing color for the first time after a lifetime of monochrome. I understand now why they sent their genetic information first. It's the only way to prepare us for contact without overwhelming our cognitive frameworks." By the second day, the changes were becoming physical. Olivia's skin developed a subtle iridescence in certain lights, and she could perceive ultraviolet and infrared wavelengths. More remarkably, she began to sense what she called the information field, patterns of data flowing through electronic systems around her. "They perceive information as a physical dimension," she explained to Thomas. "Digital networks, electromagnetic signals, even thoughts, they're all visible patterns to them." On the third day, as the alien genetic material began to degrade, Olivia experienced what she later described as echoes of connection, brief moments of contact with the collective consciousness of the approaching aliens. "They know I'm here," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "They felt my mind touch theirs across the void. Thomas, they're so beautiful, so ancient. They've been searching for others like them for thousands of years." 78 hours after administration, the alien DNA had fully dissolved, but Olivia was forever changed. Though the physical enhancements faded, neural pathways forged during the experience remained. She retained an intuitive understanding of the alien language and flashes of insight into their collective consciousness. When she finally revealed the experiment to Director Blackwell, the reaction was predictably severe: threats of imprisonment, accusations of treason, demands for immediate psychological evaluation. Until Olivia decoded the remaining 70% of the alien genetic message in a single afternoon. "They're peaceful explorers," she explained to the hastily assembled government committee. "They've encountered 37 other intelligent species across our galactic arm. Earth is the closest they've found to their own evolutionary origins. You expect us to trust this assessment based on your illegal self-experimentation?" General Patterson demanded, his face flushed with anger. Olivia's gaze was steady, still carrying echoes of the vastness she had glimpsed. "No, General. I expect you to trust it because I can now prove that they're offering us technology that could end disease, reverse climate damage, and extend human lifespans by centuries." She slid a data drive across the table. "And because their ships will enter Earth orbit in exactly 43 days whether we're prepared or not." As the committee members stared at her in stunned silence, Olivia felt the lingering connection to something vast and ancient stirring in her mind, and with it, the heavy responsibility of becoming humanity's first true bridge to the stars. The United Nations Security Council chamber had never felt so small. Olivia stood at the podium, acutely aware of the weight of 7 billion lives resting on her shoulders. On the massive screen behind her, a real-time feed showed the alien vessel in Earth orbit, a massive structure of gleaming, iridescent material that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "The delegation will arrive in 12 hours, she announced to the assembled world leaders. "They've chosen a neutral location in international waters for the initial meeting, as we discussed. Their atmospheric requirements are compatible with ours, though they've requested slightly higher oxygen levels in the meeting chamber." "And you're certain of their peaceful intentions?" The U.S. President leaned forward, her expression grave. "Absolutely certain." Olivia touched the small pendant at her throat, a crystalline device the aliens had sent ahead, allowing her intermittent connection to their collective consciousness. "As certain as I can be of anything, Madam President. They seek knowledge exchange, not conquest. Their society outgrew territorial expansion millennia ago. Yet they possess technology that could obliterate us without effort, Russia's representative noted. Technology you claim they're willing to share. Not all of it, Olivia clarified. They operate under what they call the evolutionary principle. They won't provide technology that might allow us to destroy ourselves or others. What they're offering is medical knowledge, sustainable energy solutions, and limited space travel capabilities. General Richard Donovan, who had replaced Patterson after the latter's attempt to militarize the contact protocols, cleared his throat. My team has analyzed the schematics Dr. Reynolds provided. If these aliens are deceptive, we have no effective defense against their capabilities. Which is precisely why diplomacy is our only viable option, Thomas added from his position beside Olivia. Since her genetic experiment, he had become her staunchest defender, risking his career to support her increasingly unconventional methods. As the council continued debating contingency plans, Olivia felt a familiar tingling at the base of her skull, the alien consciousness reaching out through the crystalline pendant. We sense discord among your leaders, came the thought, not in words but in concepts that unfurled in her mind. Fear clouds their judgment. They're trying to protect our people, Olivia responded silently. Fear of the unknown is part of our evolutionary heritage. We understand. We once knew such fear, before our unification. The discussion in the chamber faded to background noise as Olivia received a stream of information, images of the delegation's approach, their preparations, their hopes for the meeting. 7 representatives, each embodying a different aspect of their collective consciousness, would make first official contact. Dr. Reynolds? The Secretary General's voice broke through her trance. Are you well? Olivia blinked, returning to the moment. Yes, forgive me. I was receiving updated information. The delegation has accelerated their timeline. They'll be arriving in 6 hours, not 12. The announcement sent a ripple of tension through the chamber. Preparations that had seemed merely rushed now became nearly impossible. We're not ready, the Chinese representative objected. Security protocols alone require. They're advancing their arrival because they've detected military buildups in several nations, Olivia interrupted, her voice sharper than intended. Including launch preparations for orbital weapons platforms. All eyes turned to General Donovan, whose face remained impassive. Is this true, General? The President demanded. Precautionary measures only, he responded smoothly. Authorized at the highest levels. Not by this council, the Secretary General said icily. Olivia rubbed her temples, feeling the first stirrings of the migraines that had plagued her since the genetic experiment. Whatever military advantage you think you're gaining is an illusion. They're aware of every satellite, every weapon in our orbital space. Then perhaps they shouldn't be surprised that we're exercising caution, Donovan replied. The meeting deteriorated into accusations and counter-accusations. Nations that had pledged cooperation now hedged their commitments, and beneath the diplomatic language, Olivia sensed alliances forming, those willing to embrace contact and those determined to secure military advantage first. Hours later, as she prepared for the delegation's arrival on the floating platform constructed in the Pacific, Thomas found her staring out at the darkening horizon. The Chinese and Russians have withdrawn from the Unified Welcome Protocol, he told her quietly. They're sending their own representatives with separate agendas. Olivia nodded, unsurprised. And Donovan? 3 submarines have taken position beneath us, outside the agreed exclusion zone. French satellites have detected energy signatures consistent with nuclear armament. They'll destroy everything before it begins, Olivia whispered. Thomas touched her shoulder gently. What can you do? She closed her eyes, feeling the alien presence at the edges of her consciousness. Something unprecedented. As the alien shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, a teardrop of light moving with impossible grace, Olivia stepped away from the assembled dignitaries. Against protocol, against explicit orders, she walked alone to the center of the platform. "What is she doing?" she heard someone demand behind her. The pendant at her throat began to glow, emitting pulses of light that rippled outward like waves on water. Above, the shuttle slowed its descent, hovering 50 meters overhead. "Dr. Reynolds, return to position immediately," Donovan's voice commanded through her earpiece. Instead, Olivia raised her hands to the sky and opened her mind fully to the alien consciousness. The connection that had been a trickle became a flood, overwhelming her senses with millions of years of collective memory and knowledge. A beam of golden light enveloped her, lifting her gently from the platform. In the security center, monitors exploded with activity as submarines lost power, orbital weapon systems went offline, and communication networks worldwide momentarily synchronized to a single frequency. Through this unified channel, every screen on Earth, from military command centers to civilian smartphones, displayed the same message in all languages simultaneously. "We come in peace, as equals seeking equals. We offer friendship without condition. We will not be feared into conflict." As Olivia floated back to the platform, the shuttle completed its landing. The delegation emerged, tall, luminous beings with four-fingered hands and eyes that contained galaxies. And for the first time in human history, Earth spoke with one voice to the stars, not through governments or military might, but through a single human woman forever changed by an unexpected bridge between worlds. Dawn broke over the United Nations Interspecies Cooperation Center, a gleaming structure of human and alien architecture that had transformed Geneva's skyline. 6 months had passed since first contact, and Earth existed in a state of cautious transformation. The massive alien vessel remained in orbit, a constant reminder of humanity's new place in a larger cosmic community. Inside her private laboratory, Olivia studied cellular regeneration under a quantum microscope. The alien genetic material had long since faded from her system, but the neural pathways it had created remained, allowing her to perceive patterns invisible to others. Beside her, Nalera, one of the 7 alien delegates, observed with multifaceted eyes that reflected light like opals. "The human capacity for adaptation continues to impress," Nalera communicated, thoughts flowing directly into Olivia's mind through their shared neural link. "Your species accomplishes in decades what took ours centuries." "Necessity drives innovation," Olivia replied, adjusting the microscope. "Though not everyone sees our relationship as necessary." The fragile peace established at first contact had fractured along predictable lines. Most nations embraced the knowledge exchange, implementing alien medical technology that had already begun eradicating cancer and extending human lifespans. But a coalition led by General Donovan had grown increasingly militant, claiming humanity was sacrificing its independence and evolutionary destiny. Thomas entered the lab, his expression grave as he handed Olivia a secure tablet. "They've moved up the timeline. Donovan's coalition has developed weapons based on reverse-engineered alien technology. Intelligence suggests they're planning a coordinated strike against all 7 delegates within 48 hours. Nalera's skin rippled with colors, their species equivalent of distress. Violence would terminate the knowledge exchange. Our protocols are absolute." "It's worse than that," Olivia said, scanning the intelligence report. "They've somehow weaponized the genetic bridge concept. They're planning to capture a delegate and forcibly extract collective consciousness access." Thomas leaned against the laboratory table. "They don't understand what they're tampering with. The human mind can't process unfiltered access to their consciousness without preparation." "Precisely why they want it," Olivia replied bitterly. "Military advantage, regardless of cost." She closed her eyes, reaching through her neural link to the alien collective. Images flowed back, conflict assessment protocols activating, withdrawal procedures initiating. The alien vessel was preparing to leave Earth orbit. "No," she whispered. "We can't lose everything we've built." Nalera touched her shoulder with a four-fingered hand. Our governing consensus cannot risk full genetic knowledge falling into unprepared minds. The damage would extend beyond your world. Olivia looked between Thomas and Nalera, a desperate plan forming. There's another option. Show them the truth. Hours later, the United Nations General Assembly convened in emergency session. World leaders, scientists, and military officials filled the chamber, tension crackling through the air. Donovan and his allies sat stone-faced as Secretary-General Mukasa announced the unprecedented session. Dr. Reynolds has requested this forum to address concerns about the interspecies knowledge exchange, Mukasa explained. Given recent developments, the Council has granted her request. Olivia approached the podium, instantly aware of the weapons concealed among Donovan's security detail. Through her neural link, she sensed the 6 alien delegates positioned throughout the chamber, while Nalera remained hidden nearby. 6 months ago, I stood before you as humanity's bridge to an unknown species, she began. Today, I stand before you with knowledge that will forever change how we see ourselves in the universe. The chamber's screens activated, displaying complex genetic sequences, human DNA alongside the alien quaternary helix. My team has completed a comprehensive analysis of both human and visitor genetic structures, she continued. What we've discovered explains why our visitors chose Earth after centuries of exploration. She highlighted specific gene sequences that glowed with matching patterns. These are not random similarities. Approximately 1.2 billion years ago, a common ancestor species existed, a single-celled organism with remarkable genetic potential. On Earth, it evolved along one pathway. On their world, another. Murmurs swept through the assembly as implications dawned. We are distant evolutionary cousins, Olivia declared. Not identical, but related through ancient cosmic seeding, perhaps through asteroid impacts carrying microbial life between young planets in our galactic neighborhood. The screens shifted to show a stellar map, Earth and the alien homeworld positioned in the same spiral arm of the Milky Way, their early solar systems having occupied proximal space billions of years ago. What they offer isn't alien technology, it's our shared evolutionary heritage. Knowledge that belongs to both our species by birthright. Donovan stood abruptly. Convenient mythology, Doctor. Are we supposed to surrender our security based on claims of some cosmic family reunion? Not claims, Olivia replied calmly. Proof. She nodded toward Nalera, who stepped forward holding a crystalline sphere. As it activated, DNA visualizations filled the chamber, thousands of species from across the galaxy, their genetic structures displayed in magnificent complexity. 37 intelligent species documented across our galactic arm, Olivia explained. Each evolved independently. Only humans and our visitors shared genetic markers from a common origin. We are literally the only family they have found among the stars. The sphere pulsed, projecting a timeline of Earth's evolution alongside the visitor's world, divergent yet parallel paths from microbe to complex consciousness. What you fear as alien is actually the path not taken by our own evolutionary journey, Olivia said. And what they see in us is the same, potential unrealized, different solutions to the same cosmic challenge of existence. Throughout the chamber, security officers loyal to Donovan began moving toward predetermined positions. Through her neural link, Olivia sensed their intent, to capture Nalera and the genetic repository sphere. General, she addressed Donovan directly, your planned operation won't succeed. But more importantly, it's unnecessary. The knowledge you seek to take by force has always been within humanity's reach. What knowledge? He demanded, his planned denial abandoned. Olivia smiled sadly. Immortality. The ability to evolve beyond biological constraints. The very capabilities you've observed in our visitors. With a gesture, she activated the sphere's final function. It rose to the center of the chamber, projecting a holographic model of human DNA slowly transforming, adding complexity, repairing itself, evolving before their eyes. This is humanity's potential future, achievable through guided evolution over centuries, not through stolen technology or forced genetic manipulation. It's a journey our visitors began millennia ago. They came not to conquer or even to teach, but to find the family they lost across evolutionary time and space. Throughout the chamber, weapons were quietly lowered as the magnitude of her revelation sank in. Even among Donovan's most loyal followers, the implications of cosmic kinship outweighed military advantage. As the session concluded, Olivia felt the alien vessel reversing its withdrawal preparations. Through her neural link, she sensed a new consensus forming among their collective consciousness, hope, tempered with caution. That evening, standing on the center's observation deck beneath a sky filled with stars, Olivia watched Thomas approach with 2 glasses of champagne. To evolution's unexpected gifts, he offered. She accepted the glass, her gaze drawn upward to where the alien ship glimmered in orbit. We still have so much to learn from each other. And centuries to do it, Thomas replied. The treaty amendments passed unanimously after your revelation. Even Donovan's coalition signed on. Olivia smiled, feeling the faint echoes of connection to a consciousness both alien and somehow familiar. Across the vast distances of space and time, 2 branches of life that had separated billions of years ago had found each other again. And in that reunion lay humanity's greatest evolutionary gift, not just knowledge or technology, but the profound understanding that we were never truly alone in the cosmic story of life.